And welcome back to another episode of Thompson's Comic Corner. My name is Zach Thompson, and as always, every show I bring in new guests, or at least I try to. I try to have a revolving door of co hosts. It's never the same show, we never talk about the same books. Well, today I have two co hosts, and one is Chad Smith of the Last Comic Shop podcast.
Hey, hey.
He's been
Super
here.
super excited to be here today.
He's been here. Him and between him and George, man, they are battling for the top spot. And our awesome guest of honor today is comic book legend Erik Larsen.
Hey.
So it's really cool that you decided to come onto the show. Like I'm really pumped. I literally told all my friends about this. Like I fangirl about it. So
okay, cool.
Like we'll be honest.
I warned Zach I'm going to try to do my best not to Chris Farley this interview and be like, remember that time you did Spider-Man on your own? That was awesome.
So I said this while we were off, like we weren't live. They're like, you don't do a lot of interviews, and like I don't want to be the same guy that just talks about like just Spider-Man or Savage Dragon, which granted you are coming up on, what is it, like issue 280, 281 of Savage Dragon?
Yeah. Working on 282 this minute, so
yeah, so I mean that is a huge accomplishment, and you've been doing it. So it says Image 1992, but you did it before that, correct?
yeah, I mean I created the character when I was in grade school, so
That's pretty cool.
It's been with me for a long time. So
that's pretty neat. So
I mean it was like a ripoff of Batman, and just over the years it's changed a bit.
So
that's an understatement for sure.
Yeah.
So what was your first like big two job? According to online, it says it was DC and you did like Doom Patrol. Is that right? I don't remember.
My very first was I did an issue of Thor.
Okay.
But not just any issue of Thor. It was written by Stan Lee.
Yeah, it was
written in quotes.
It was scripted by Stan. It was plotted by Jim Shooter and myself. And I had met Jim. I've been submitting stuff to Jim for some years, and so he would get my wretched samples again and again. And I eventually had gotten some nibbles from some other smaller comic book companies. So I'd started getting something somewhere. I did some stuff for AC Comics and did some. My first one was a book called Megaton, and then just a little bit of this just to get me going. So when I met him, I was kind of a professional, and so we just struck up a conversation, and he recognized my name. He said, "Oh, you're a professional now," and I was like, "Yes, I am." So, and he had asked how I'd like to do a story for Marvel Fanfare, which I didn't know was code for how would you like to do an inventory story. But at the time, it's like, oh man, Marvel Fanfare. Now, because that's reserved the best dudes. I'm like, that's starting out on top. Here we go. So that was me and Shooter plotted it out at the convention, just hammered out a skeleton of a plot. And then I went home and I drew. And at that point, I had like the greatest samples ever because it's Thor and the Hulk just kicking the living crap out of each other for
that's
22
awesome
pages. And then so that led to all sorts of other things. That led to me doing a run on a book, an Eclipse called The DN Agents. And that led me to do a fill-in issue of The Amazing Spider-Man, real early on one. And then that eventually worked my way into doing stuff at DC where I took on the Doom Patrol.
As a young professional, were you excited to be inked by Vinnie Coletta, or were you like, he's erasing my lines?
No, I was horrified. He was one of those. He was like, oh, he's the worst guy ever. Why is he doing this? And
Oh,
so when I got that back, I was like, oh, it's like a kick in the stomach. And now looking back years later, 4 plus later, I'm looking at it going, oh, you did all right with it. I don't hate it. At the time, I hated it, but I've come around. Um, and it was kind of cool in retrospect to be part of the classic Thor creative team with Stan Lee scripting it and Vinnie Coletta inking it. So I'm just kind of subbing for Jack Kirby on my first job.
there you go. Now,
So that ain't
I
bad.
not bad at all. Not bad company. The older generation of artists, were they supportive of you and your peers when you were coming up, or were you guys pretty much
Um,
just on your own to figure things out?
I think it just as a group, creators are fairly supportive of each other. Um,
Nice.
so like I met Bill Sienkiewicz at that same convention, and I met Paul Smith and Mark Silvestri. So I just kind of fell in with a group of guys. Uh, Rich Rankin was a anchor who I met early on, and God, there's a bunch of other guys, and I'm blanking on their names right now. But uh, yeah, it was kind of a welcoming thing where everybody would show other people your work, because I think everybody's like, we want comics to be better than they are. So if there's somebody who's trying to get in and their stuff looks okay, let's point them to an editor who may be able to get them going so that we can help the industry. If all boats are rising, it's going to help me too, kind of thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was always curious just because you've run the gamut. You've been an artist, you've been a writer, you've been a publisher.
Yeah,
You've done work for hire, you've done creative
yeah,
owned. Is
I'm
there any
all
like
over. Yeah.
advice you've gotten you've taken with you and passed along to others on the way?
Um, Not really. I mean, make your deadlines and do a good job. Uh, I had a writer on Mark Evanier on the agents, who was kind of pointing me to panels in my work and going, you don't need to put you don't need to put stuff in every corner of these panels, because these characters are going to need to talk and you need to leave room for word balloons. So it's like, oh, all right, like this chair you've got in the corner of this panel, it's going to be covered up, so you might as well not draw that. So,
There you
fair,
go, save some time.
fair point, fair point. And at
Nice.
that point, everything was lettered on the board, so um, it was really gone forever. Whereas now, with computer lettering being what it is, for people who buy original art, you can look at it and go, "Oh wow, there's a chair that I didn't know was there. Oh, cool." For whatever that's worth.
So, speaking of original artwork, you had just published a couple days ago, because I follow you on Facebook. You had just published the original pencils and the inks for your Spider-Man 1000 cover,
Yeah.
which that's pretty sick. Not gonna lie.
it was,
So,
it was nice to be invited to be part of that thing. They actually asked me to draw a story, but I just hearing about what it was going to be, I was like, yeah, this is not something I think I would be good at doing. So better find somebody else to do this one. So
Man. But
well,
I
now
love the
it's
cover with
great.
all the different colors you posted online. I kept going
yeah,
through trying to figure out which one I like the best.
yeah, no, it was kind of fun just to just screw around. It's like I did the one that I liked the best, and then sent it in, and then just it's like I'm just sitting there screwing around for forever, and then it was like, well, what if it was nighttime? Let's put some stars there. It's like, holy crap! I mean, the original art still has no stars and looks the same as it does on the fully colored one that I posted up. But
You also have a cover coming out for Punisher versus Spider-Man #3, which is a retro variant, and you also have the Amazing Venom, which that cover is really interesting.
yeah, that one is it was that one they wanted me to kind of recreate an Amazing Spider-Man cover, except update the
Yeah.
two different costumes on there. Um, I found that with the coloring, it didn't. He kind of blended into the background a little more than he would have in the old Venom colors. So it's like, I want this to look like the Spider-Man comic, and yet it can't because there's not enough black on here. So, but I did what I could with it.
I mean, it looks pretty
Yeah,
intense.
it's pretty neat looking, and
Yeah, you put them
it's
side by
interesting.
side, it's gonna look good.
It's interesting that they're kind of letting me color stuff too, which and dress stuff. So I'm sending in covers at this point that are ready to be printed. It's like you don't need to do anything to this one, just print
How
There
long
you
does
go. Put the barcode in and go.
it.
how long
Yeah.
does it take you to do that? From pencil to color to be done, like everything. Like how long did it take you to do
Well,
the Venom cover?
I mean that one had a basis to it, so basically I'm inking on top of stuff that's already been penciled and inked before. So that I'm kind of repenciling it, and then all right,
Special guest dropping by.
Oh, yeah,
special
dude, the
guest
kid
just walked into the room. That's the best kind, man.
asking for Sunny D's. That's what my kid wants. Um, so when you did the
So like
punch,
with that one, the color is fairly simple. So there's just cutting some simple shapes, and because it's so obvious what colors things needed to be, because I needed to match the original logo and match the original background color and stuff like that. It was not super complicated. I think probably from start to finish on that, you're probably looking at 8 hours or so.
8 hours. That's it.
Yeah, I think for that one. I mean, when there's stuff like this, the Spider-Man 1000 one was probably a little more than that, just because the coloring got a little more involved, and I was like, try out this and let's try out that. So,
That's kind
but
of neat though. Like you can just trial and error because you do the color on the computer, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you just kind of, and especially if colors are flat like that, it's just a matter of deselecting your black layer and then coming in and just paint bucketing in. Let's try this color out. Oh, that looks terrible. Let's try another one. And I
that's kind
just
of
kind of
That's
neat.
take screenshots along the way so I can show people, look what I tried out. That looks awful.
I was going to ask too. I've noticed on some of your more recent covers, including like Spider-Man Noir, there's a stylistic change in some of your work
Um,
where
yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily deliberate. It just as time goes by, you kind of bring in other influences
okay.
and work through some stuff. But I'm not necessarily sitting there going, "This must all change. It must go away." You know.
It's not a big choice. No, it's neat though. It's definitely an evolution of your artistic purview there. It's
Yeah,
neat to
well,
see.
and it depends really on what I'm doing. Like some of the Spider-Man stuff, I'll be like, man, like the Spider-Man Punisher cover that I just did. I kind of wanted to emulate kind of the style of covers that were being done around that time.
Right?
So mostly like Gil Kane and John Romita were doing a lot of those covers. So I'm like, all right, let me try and draw a John Romita Spider-Man and a Gil Kane kind of poses on here. And
I could tell you your Punisher was definitely a younger Punisher than the one I was used to from back in
yeah,
the day.
Yeah, my old show, I would put those like triangles on his
I,
lips and
I
stuff.
love the lip triangles. I actually
And people
talked
are
to you
like,
online
"What
about
happened
that.
to his scars, man?" And I'm like, "Well, he's starting out. This is when his family was just killed. He hasn't had a battle with Wolverine just yet."
Very cool. But growing up, that was so distinctive, and that is one question I know. Like some of the characters you would draw, even for Marvel, you would take them to the next level, including Punisher with those lip scars, including Venom. Like, how did the process with Venom come out with like your evolution of the character with the big slobbery tongue and all that?
I
Like, was that
mean,
you? Was that Dave Michelini? Was that a
no, it
combo?
was definitely not David
Or
Michelini.
Michelini, sorry.
Michelini, he really wanted for him to stay more human looking. I think he envisioned Venom looking more like he did in Spider-Man 300, where his mouth really wasn't out of control and there was none of that slobber and none of that. The tongue was, standard issue tongue. But what had happened was Todd had done, so it took him to the next level, the next appearance. So he had gotten a little crazier. And at some point, Todd had done a Spider-Man versus Venom, or Venom versus Spider-Man, whatever they did. He did a trade paperback cover, and
Right?
he had his mouth open, and Todd had given him a tongue, and I was like, "Oh, Todd's giving him a tongue. I'll give him a bigger, crazier tongue." But I didn't buy that book because I had all the stories at that point. I had it in the other form. I was like, "Oh, there's no." So in my mind, I was like, Todd's giving him a tongue now. But that's just because I saw that cover for 30 seconds, and that was the mental image that I walked away from. So for a long time, I was crediting Todd with, "Oh no, Todd started the tongue thing." And it wasn't until years later they saw the cover again, where like his mouth is open and you can tell that he owns a tongue, but he didn't do anything with it at all. It was just a little red dot that was in there, and
Oh
somehow
yeah.
my brain had filled it in, and like, oh, he's doing crazy stuff this time.
Yeah, and it unhinged the jaw and dropped it
Yeah,
down.
so
And
I just kind of I was thinking I was competing with Todd and one upping him on that, and it turns out I just rounded a corner and was went off road.
well, it's great though. It made such an impact on the character. It's such an awesome visual. Such an
Yeah,
awesome
no,
look.
It's very iconic, and like it's the when people think of Venom, that's what they think of.
yeah. No, it did kind of take over. I was noticing in the that Venom Black, White, and Blood collection that David Michelini had written one of those stories, and in his story, Venom was very subdued drawing. There's no tongue, his mouth was not huge. He was really like stripped down. So I'm wondering if in he's like, don't do what everybody else has done with this guy. I want him to be this way. So it's like, all right.
Hey, different strokes for different folks. Whatever
Yeah.
works for you, right?
Well, he thought people were all into the human is underneath the mask, and we want to see what's going on and his emotions or whatever. And I think Todd and I were just kind of going, no, kids want to see this big slobbery monster. The visual of him just transforming and doing all this crazy stuff.
Well, that would seem like so much of the ethos of you and the image guys of that time period was like, let's just make it look cool.
Yeah,
We'll make it make sense
my
later.
whole impetus for doing stuff. Part of it is, well, let's dust off, let's scrape off some of the barnacles on some of these old characters, because what can happen over the course of many, many decades, especially with one artist following another, is that characters who had a very distinctive look can over time lose that distinctiveness, and eventually, everybody got the Steve Rogers comb over where they're parting their hair and pushing it to the side.
Right?
And so I was looking back and going, oh, Flash Thompson, when he was introduced, when Ditko was drawing him, he gave him kind of curly hair. I'm gonna give him curly hair again. Or, Dr. Octopus had kind of a more distinctive, or the Vulture had no chin at all and he was just kind of this weird looking dude. So let me look at what Ditko did with this guy and try and pull back some of those elements and put some of that into it. And
Oh,
then other
I
characters,
love that stuff. All the Ditko, like even the Spider-Man mask, how you would draw the eyes
yeah,
Yes,
is
the
I tried.
eyes.
That was kind of from the cartoon because in the cartoon he was kind of doing a little bit of blinking and stuff. It's like, all right, they're trying to give him some expression, so we can do something with that. Um, but yeah, the same thing with like the Rhino. And you look back at Ramita's first Rhino, his eyes were really weird looking, and they're kind of in this sunken and too far apart, and he had this weird rectangle nose and whatever. So when I was drawing the Rhino, it's like, well, what me to do? What did he want him to look like? And a lot of it was that just kind of going, what is the definitive version, and I think a lot of us kind of just go off and do whatever the hell we want to do, um, which is fine, but I part of it was, well, what if this was a real guy, what does he look like? And now that's been sort of in my brain, is just going, well, what do these guys look like? Because if we were all tasked with drawing a real human that we know, that you're familiar with, they're all going to it's all going to be in that range. You're not going to have somebody going, oh no, my Barack Obama weighs 400 pounds. It's everybody's going to be, basic, same silhouette. He's going to look the same height. He's going to physically look the same to a degree. But then when it comes to these fictional characters, people are kind of all over the map in a lot of and so I'm kind of going, well, what's the actual guy look like? Let me draw that guy. Let's try that on for size. So but my whole kind of way of doing things changes over the years. Like when I draw Peter Parker now, I'm not drawing the same Peter Parker that I did when I was on the book, whatever, 34 years ago. Holy crap. I mean, that's like a long time ago, but it's like I'm more these days going, I want him to look kind of more like a Steve Ditko Peter Parker and less like an Erik Larsen Peter Parker.
Well, I think he does look like a Steve Ditko Peter Parker it was in the Venom Black and White and Blood story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was trying my best to do like, let me do a Ditko Parker and let me try and do a Ramita Mary Jane.
I thought you
And
did pretty good.
it's like I'm trying to do that, and there was a pinup that Kirby had colored that Ramita had drawn, and he had done that thing where he's having different sections between the webs being a different color. I was like, I got to try that out for size. So that was kind of where the coloring came from, was Kirby, and then the Ditko came into the Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and then Ramita and whatever. So I'm still trying to, you can't help but look like my own stuff to a certain degree. I'm not going to shake all that stuff, but
nor should you. That's
yeah, I mean
my
that.
big complaint about comics today is not enough artists have a style that's distinctive. Like I can look at an Erik Larsen picture and know, like right off the drop. Even your
I know,
Spider-Man
even
1000
when I'm
cover.
trying to rip off somebody else.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see the Ditko influences in your Spider-Man 1000 cover, but you still
Yeah,
know that's an
yeah,
Erik
yeah,
Larsen book.
yeah.
Yeah, you
There's,
did a Spider-Man Wolverine book, and as soon as I looked at it, you did a variant for it. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, "That's Erik Larsen's cover."
yeah, yeah. I'm trying. Kind of cool that these things come up and they'll give me a call and say, hey, you want to do a Hulk cover, or do you want to do an Iron Man cover? It's like, all right, I've never done an Iron Man cover before. Let me give that one a shot. So
That's
it's
what
just
I was flipping through the Spidey omnibus, and I was just taken by how many Marvel characters you got to draw. Like you
Yeah,
start off in Acts of Vengeance, and you get all the big bads. You get the
yeah, yeah, yeah. All that
Loki
stuff.
and
And you can and look in there and you can see like my Kingpin when he first shows up in there, he's really just like a ball with a head. And
right.
then, just a few issues later, um, he's more Ramita. He's more of a physically strong looking guy. He's more shoulders and
More
big
imposing. You Frank
wrists.
Millered him up.
Yeah, yeah, or whoever. I was thinking, kind of going, all right, let's marry Ramita and Frank Miller a bit.
That's
But
awesome. But yeah, the other fun part about that book too is you would have like the one page, like here comes Nova flying by, or there's
yeah,
Thor, there's Captain America. Like
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
you got to touch a lot of the bases of the Marvel
yeah.
universe, and like as a fan of your art, it's like, oh, that's really cool to see what an Erik Larsen Thor would look like back in 1992 or whatever year that
Yeah,
was,
well,
91.
we're also kind of trying to pay homage to the first Spider-Man annual
Oh
with the
yeah,
Sinister Six. So that was loaded with guest stars, where it's like, oh, here's the X-Men
yep.
for
And
a
that
couple of
splash
panels.
for each fight. You
Yeah, and
throw
there's a
that
splash
splash in
freeze
there.
fight, which I didn't tell Michelinie that I was going to do that, and he was kind of annoyed at me.
Oh
It's like,
man.
it's like, hey, if I knew you were going to do that, I would have planned for it. I would have written something specifically for that. And it's like, all right, fair point, but
Well,
it
so
worked.
like
Whatever.
the end product was great. Were there any lessons you took from working with him whenever you became your own writer artist? Uh,
Um,
when you moved over to do Spidey on your own, or when you moved into doing Savage Dragon?
no, I don't know that there's particular lessons. I mean, most of it is just reading comics in general and absorbing everything and going, well, this works and this does not work. Let's find ways to do more of the things that work and less of the things that I don't think work so well. And that is just a matter of trial and error and just observing what other people have done and trying to absorb that and regurgitate it. So it's like, when telling stories, um, if Red Skull shows up on panel 3 on a right hand page, when you flip those pages, you're seeing the you're seeing the whole spread. Basically, you're being spoiled by all the subsequent panels. And so if your eye immediately goes to this bright red skull, that's not going to surprise you when Red Skull shows up because you've already spoiled it for yourself.
Right,
Uh, so one of the things that I've kind of had burned into my own brain is panel ones are reveals, panel last panels are cliffhangers, and just use that as a general guideline for when I'm telling stories, so that things can surprise readers, and not
that's
have it
awesome.
be, and you just over time you kind of get a shopping list of this thing works, this does not work, and try and come up with something that is engaging, trying to tell stories that are entertaining people.
There you go. And I like with your Savage Dragon. You mentioned how that doesn't stay the same. That has changed and evolved so much over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like every few years there's another evolution and there's another change up, but there's another like this doesn't look like what came before. Like, how do you continue to keep that fresh and keep coming up with new stuff to put in there?
Well,
Uh,
before you answer that,
All right.
I do want to. I gotta interject. So I watched your interview with West Coast Avenger Dave, and he talked about how when he picked up an issue of Savage Dragon, this was years after it. It was like he never missed a beat. And I do want to say that that's probably one of the coolest things about reading it because I did pick up before this show. I picked up a bunch of. I had never read Savage Dragon. I'm gonna admit it, and I picked up issue 1, I picked up issue like 122 to 128, and then I picked up some in the 200s, and I, it was great storytelling. I knew what was going on. Like I didn't need to, you know what I mean? Like I didn't need 100 issues of backstory.
Yeah.
Like it was just
Well,
good storytelling.
yeah, I mean, mostly what I've tried to do with that is give readers enough information to understand the issue that's in their hands, you know? And that's just part of the general look. I can't tell you everything that's come up to now because it's too much, you know, there's just too much there.
Yeah.
But you know, if you just have enough basic information, you should be able to be good to go. Because the book's set in real time and characters age and characters change, the book always kind of does feel fresh to me because I'm always dealing with something else. You know, it's like, oh, now the kids are in fifth grade. Well, let's see what this is like. Now the kids are in, you know, going to middle school. What's that change? Um, you know, Malcolm does gets into this fight, or you know, Dragon dies, or whatever else. You know, things just keep changing, and it just keeps it interesting and keeps it fun. So so
That's
how
awesome.
right? How
That's
do
a
you keep it
smart way to
fresh?
do it.
You keep it fresh by keeping it fresh, basically.
There
Like,
you go.
you know, if I decided I'm going to have Dragon be a cop forever and just rotate those same 20 villains again and again, I think it would get stale, and you'd just be going, okay, so he's gonna fight Overlord again, huh? That sounds fun. you know, and I think that that can be the problem with your Marvel and DC stuff, especially if you're a fan who's been reading it forever. You get to a point where you're going, really? He's going to fight Doctor Octopus again? Holy crap! That's and it
Yeah,
just
but
feels
this time
like,
Doctor Octopus has taken over his brain.
yeah. But I mean, writers are like, well, okay, well, we're going to find a way to mix it up so it doesn't
Yeah,
seem like it's the same thing over and over again.
I hear you.
Um, I don't know. It's challenging.
I was going to ask too. You just recently came off a stint writing Spider-Man Noir, and
Yeah.
I was interested because your villains didn't seem like that. Like a lot of times in the noir books, it's like, oh, here's the Green Goblin, but he's a gangster, and your villains
Yeah.
like I told you before we start. Hardboil had to be one of my favorite things I've read from Marvel in the last 2 or 3 years. Where it's like, did that come from any of the Spider-Man lore? Because I didn't
Now,
recognize it.
I kind of came into that thinking all of his villains that he's fought so far have just been spins on the regular Marvel Universe villains. Let's give him his own rogues gallery and just start fresh with this and just populate it with everything. In fact, the Scorpion Gang, the artists had like, what if we did like a mask that was sort of like the regular Marvel Scorpion? I'm like, no, 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 that's not what I want at all. I want it to be unrelated to Marvel Scorpion. Just they're just a gang that happens to be their motif. It's not the Scorpion. And then the other villains that were in there, it's like, let's do a guy like this and a guy like that, and just try
Yeah,
out a bunch
uh,
of different things. And I think probably I gave him over the course of 5 issues, maybe 10 new villains.
and a
Um,
bunch of cockroaches.
but yeah, but like even the cockroaches are a new villain. So it's like, try and do something with it that hasn't been done before, and at the same time, okay, we can bring in their version of Stacy, and she can be new, the element that's from the other stuff. So let's do Mary Jane will be there, and Aunt May will be there. And I also just wanted to play around with that and be like, well, why does Peter like Aunt May? What is it about their relationship? Let's get a little glimpse into that and just have their banter back and forth with each other. It was like, this is kind of fun to write. So
Very cool. And
Tell
I
me you read comic books without telling me you read comic books. Like you can tell that when you write something, it's something that you want to read.
yeah. Well, I want it to be engaging, and I want it to be kind of fun, and I want you to go, if you're following these characters, I want you to like them. And part of that is uh, injecting some amount of humor or just giving characters opinions on stuff. So you can go, oh, okay, well, he liked that movie and I like that movie, or he's really into this stuff or that stuff.
or
Um,
he has that boil on his face that jumps off to other people, and
yeah,
then
he's got that boil. I don't know what's that all about, but that was this book has very little in the way of supporting characters. So let's just start. Let's introduce a kid gang that's running around, and then we'll introduce other characters that are running around. Start name dropping different people on the police force, or just a woman who works as a waitress in a diner, or Mary Jane can mention this character or that character, and there's various people that Peter Parker went to school with suddenly showing up, and it's like there's stuff here. And if you're reading this on a regular basis, you can just kind of build this world out. Um, and also part of that was because of when it was set. I was like, I can name drop a bunch of old radio shows and really put it in a specific time and reference going to see this movie on this date and stuff like that. It's like, here's a Blondie movie that would have been out at that point, and here's this other thing, and here's these
That's a kind of
radio,
a neat idea.
and it's like the music that's referenced is would have been contemporary music at the time. Um, the slang that's being used would have been, you don't want to make it so slang heavy that you're sitting there going, I don't understand what people are talking about.
yeah,
Um, but it's like there's plenty of examples of comic strips that were coming out during that time and comic books that were coming out during that time. You can kind of
yeah.
just read through those and get a sense of, this is how people were talking at that point.
And
So
if you're like me, you wonder what happened to egg creams.
yeah,
Why don't we have those anymore?
yeah, they don't. What's going on?
So now I told you before that I had to ask a question. How cool was it to be writing Wolverine and Aquaman at the exact same time?
I mean, it was definitely fun.
You
Um,
made Aquaman a badass.
I mean, again, it's like that's the idea is let's make these characters, let's do the best versions of these characters and try and expand those worlds as much as possible. It's like, what can I give Aquaman that he doesn't have? Like, let's start adding some villains. Let's having, how come so many of his stories are outside of Atlantis? Is our world so much cooler than Atlantis? Well, let's try and make Atlantis cool. Um, do they have crime there? Do they have villains there? Maybe they've got uh, crime lord type characters there. Let's see what we can do with that. Maybe there are rivals for Mara's affections to be found down there. Okay, let's introduce a Namor type who can be kind of a rival for her, and then start getting to know some of the people in Atlantis, introducing Lagoon Boy and Shiva and Blubber, and then just kind of expanding out from there. Like, let's just make this bigger than it is. Um, why the hell not? Let's do more with this.
You're damn right.
Yeah, right. And that's what I want people to, when I'm on a book, for you to go, wow, that guy was on that book for a year and he introduced like 15 new guys. What the hell? And then I'll go and do something else. And it's like, let's make it so that when I'm on it, you're not sitting there going, oh, when he gets on the book, he just looks at what everybody else is doing and does the same thing. Try and be the guy who comes on there and pumps some life into it.
There you go. And you always have that imagination and that sense of fun that so
Yeah,
many people they take things too seriously. I'm
yeah,
like, I don't. No offense, I don't get that from your work. I think you go out there and like, what's the coolest thing I can do? Let's do that.
You
yeah,
literally make a book that you want to read, and it shows.
yeah, yeah. No, well, I kind of have been, I've said before uh, that if you're not working on your favorite book, you're doing it wrong. So it really should be, if I'm on this book, I want to make this into my favorite comic. And how do I make this into my favorite comic? I'll come up with a bunch of villains who I think are awesome. I'm going to give them a supporting cast that are cool characters that you want to spend some time with, you know. And also it's like you can't have Aunt May being kidnapped in every story. Let's add a bunch of other characters that you care about, so that if something's happened to one of those characters, you're like, I'm concerned about the well-being of this new guy who I was just introduced to 3 issues ago, but I've gotten to like.
There
What's
you
going
go.
on with him?
Now, speaking of characters, are there characters out there? Because you've had such a great history in comics, and you've been able to draw and write so many different characters. Is there somebody or a property out there like a Captain Marvel or something along those lines that you would love to sink your teeth into that you haven't had a chance to yet? Or
Yeah, I mean, kind of everything, unfortunately. It's like I never had a run on the Hulk, and I always loved that book. I had that run on the Fantastic Four, that World's Greatest Comics magazine miniseries that we did, but that was kind of shoved in between 2 issues of the book, and it was using characters that had all been introduced before. So that come out with a real specific agenda. It
right?
would be it would be great to do a run on the Fantastic Four and try and do what Jack Kirby did and just go, I'm going to introduce 50 new villains for the Fantastic Four. Let's go. Or,
So many ideas in those books. Yeah.
or do a run on Spider-Man again and go, rather than bringing in all those classic villains again and again, let's freshen this pot up a little bit and put some new guys in there and do some stuff with that.
There you go. Yeah, I was. It's tough. I was talking with my buddies the other day with Spider Man. Like you guys brought along Venom, and there have been guys like Mister Negative, but there aren't that many villains that have penetrated into the pantheon that didn't come from Ditko.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
not at
No,
all.
yeah. It's like you look at Ditko's run, you go, oh, he guided what, 38 issues and 2 annuals. So basically 40 issues worth of material. And everything cool about Spider-Man kind of came from that, with the exception of the Shocker,
Yeah,
uh,
Rhino was a later guy.
Rhino, but Rhino,
Morbius.
uh, yeah, and Kingpin was
Yeah,
was one, but
Punisher.
uh, Kangaroo. That's
There you
not.
go. Jackal, Spider Buggy, Prowler. Prowler has such a great look. I love Prowler.
I mean, there's been a little bit of other stuff, but there's been an awful lot of, well, what did Ditko do? Oh, let's bring the Vulture back again and do another Vulture story. Let's do more with Electro. And it's like, man, you guys have been kind of just using that stuff over and over again, which is fine, but it would be nice to go, let's do more with this.
So when you did you did Captain America the End,
Uh-huh.
when you wrote that, I want to can you tell me a little bit behind like your idea for that? Because I actually really enjoyed that book and I really liked the realization that Steve has at the end that he's the problem and that
Yeah.
he's the solution. And I really like that. For people that have never read that, go read that. That's actually really fun. It's a really good book.
It's kind of me riffing on the book I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. Just kind of, I don't know if you've ever read that. They made it into a terrible movie
I was about to
where
say I've seen the movie.
they changed the ending of it because that was his realization in that story is, he is surrounded by vampires and everybody's a vampire and he's being hunted and then at some point it kind of dawns on him that uh, oh, everybody's a vampire and it's just one guy who's killing all of them. I'm the problem, you know, and that's kind of doing that with Cap is going. Everybody's been turned into this red skull guy. Everybody's been assimilated. Shit, I'm I'm the problem. But also coming out at the other end of that is, oh, I can actually cure these guys and retake the Earth basically and bring this back to humanity, which is because I mean everybody being the Red Skull and infected by that as a virus is that's not awesome if everybody's just like a mindless zombie kind of guy. Um, so that was a fun little book to work on, and I was happy that they had asked me to do it.
Yeah, it was really for me, it was I, I don't know how to put it. It looks really retro. Like
That
the
was the
yeah,
attempt was to try and have it be like a Kirby Captain America
that's
without.
exactly what I was thinking. But whoever did the cover, man, like so when you look at the cover and then you look at the interior, and that's one of my biggest gripes about today's comics is that cover artists and then you have the interior artist and it doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
That book,
Well,
that
they
cover would have threw
wanted
me
all those
completely
books
off.
to look. They wanted them all as to have the same kind of cover artist on all of them, so that they could sell it as a block, basically. To go, okay, you're seeing all these the end books, and because they've all got the same cover artist, I'm seeing these as related to one another, even though they're not really related to one another, other than the basic theme of this. And I did do an alternate cover for that if you ever go searching out there.
Well,
So
I
something
will.
does exist.
Yeah, because so we're not sponsored by Marvel Unlimited, but God, do I use their app almost every day. So yeah, the one they have, they just have cover A, and I'm like, man, I'm like, that's not his art, like that's not his
No,
cover. And
there's a
I
cover
open
B.
it.
Yeah, there's a cover B out there. Search for it because yeah, it looks more like what I do.
Yeah, I really thought the inside was fun. Like the interior, like that story was just cool. Like it was just the way that you have Cap moving, and then like the one close up that you have of his face, and you can actually see like the lines and like look at like how wrinkled and like just tired this man is when he realizes like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's,
I really enjoyed that.
he's yeah, no, that was a fun book to work on for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, it printed a little dark, and if you see the print version, some of the coloring was like, oh, it's a little more vibrant and saturated than it needs to be. I think probably the digital version would look a little better actually than the printed comic.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it looks like you made it in like the '60s, like the late '60s, early '70s, and I was like, man, I was like, this is pretty fun, and I was like, man,
Yeah,
they need to fix that cover though.
yeah. Well,
Just
I did what I could.
so now you read, and we can obviously tell that people can't see this at home, but like I see you got a bunch of short boxes back there.
Those
What
are
do you
actually.
like? What do you read? Like
Um,
who do you go out to the local comic book store tomorrow and go pick up?
I don't know what's out tomorrow, but these days I think I'm still getting. Oh, I get all the image stuff sent to me, so I get absolutely everything that we put out. Um, and so kind of everything like, oh, the new Battle Beast is in, or the new Youngblood, or whatever. So I'm getting all that stuff. And then when I go to the store, I just kind of try to keep my eyes on what's going on with these various universes. If there's new Hellboy stuff, I'll get that. Um, I've been following the new Batman stuff and kind of keep my toes in Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk. Um, but I'm not getting a lot. I probably may get maybe 10, 15 books a month, maybe. And a lot of it's just, oh, I like this artist. I want to get this because I like the way it looks. And a lot of it, I don't have a pull box. I just kind of graze. And so I'll come in and be like, oh, I like the art on 6 of these books this week. I'll just walk off with these 6.
That's
Uh,
awesome. Now you're on the other side of the equation too, with all the as an image publisher and like
yeah,
what is that like? How do you feel about comics today as opposed to 5 years from now or 5 years ago or
who knows?
next year? Like,
Well, I'm not the publisher now. I haven't been in a while, so it's Eric Stevenson
uh,
is doing that. Thank God. Um,
but are you involved with the day to day business at all, or
not that much.
you
No, no.
just
I mean,
sticking to your own stuff?
if things come up and they need to have a image meeting and talk about going to a new distributor or something like that, then I'll be consulted. If there's times when I'll get turned on to an artist or something, I'll run across somebody's work online, and I'll contact Eric and say, hey, I ran across this guy's stuff. It's pretty awesome. We should do something with this. So that does happen.
Nice.
Um, but I'm not doing a publishing branch of Image for the most part. There'll be a couple things that I'll shove through just because it's a buddy of mine, but mostly I let them do what they do.
That's awesome though. I mean, but the impact of Image and what you guys created is just as a comic fan, I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah,
So that
yeah, yeah,
creators
yeah.
can have those outlets.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been great, and I especially people have been belly aching for years that all comics are superheroes, and when we started, most of what we were doing was superheroes, but as time's gone on, it's been more and more guys just doing okay. Well, I feel like doing this. And it's like, go for it, man. We don't
There
have
you
a
go.
fishing comic, whatever.
Image can have Saga, Image can have Dork, Image can have
Yeah, yeah.
everything
Image
under the
can
sun.
have
You
don't
anything and everything.
yeah, don't forget Wrestle Heist, friend of the
Oh,
show, Kyle Starks. Wrestle
Yeah, yeah,
Heist.
yeah. That's like all good. But just make a good comic and we'll be there.
that's
That
great.
yeah, that's I will say Image has such a wide variety of books, and it
Yeah,
is really nice. And it's really for anybody and everybody. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like it's
It
not
is.
just the superhero guy.
Yeah, yeah. No, and as it should be. And Marvel and DC have struggled forever to break out of doing hero stuff. Whenever they've tried expanding the market and trying to do different things, the market has said no thanks. But we've had some great success just doing stuff that's really off the beaten path. So
And can I also say thank you for having a book that's run, what, 280 issues and
yeah,
not a new number one every 2 years?
yeah,
As, that drives me crazy as a comic
yeah.
fan because I don't know
Well,
where to look for stories.
yeah, also, I mean, the starting over with issue one, it's such bullshit to begin with because you're not starting over. You know, it's
Right?
like, oh, you're doing a new Spider-Man one. Who's he fighting in that issue? Oh, he's fighting the Scorpion. Well, the Scorpion's been around for 60 years. And he's got all this baggage and all this stuff that comes with him. He's mad at Spider-Man for something that happened 60 years ago. How is that a first issue? There's kind of nothing new about your new series.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
You
It's
sound like a real comic book fan right there.
well, I am. I mean, it's the same point. I'm trying to file my books away in order, and it's like, wait a minute, where's this? When did this issue one come out as opposed to the other issue one? It's like, God damn it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the same writers and artists on the same number ones 2 years apart. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah. It's just we decided
Oh,
we needed to sell more copies, so we started over again.
Yeah, between that and the variant covers, I don't know what I'm looking for out there anymore. I see it issue 6, and I'm like, which issue 6 is this?
Yeah, yeah. No, the variant cover again, and I realize that I'm contributing to that every time they ask me to do something.
Yeah, but those are awesome. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But again, it's like if you're buying that comic because you're like, oh, look at this cool Spider-Man versus Venom cover or whatever, and then you read the comics like, oh, this isn't the same art in the inside at all. What's going on? I'm contributing more to that same thing than
you
whatever.
know, I want to
Whatever.
see you do a variant of Absolute Batman. That
Uh,
would be very interesting.
it might be. I mean, I haven't asked, so for the most part, I don't knock on doors. I'm mostly just kind of going and doing what I'm doing, and they'll ask me occasionally, like,
Well,
"Hey,
DC needs to come knock on your door. I want to see it.
yeah, if they come knocking on my door, I can have that discussion." But
That'd be
yeah,
cool.
I did a Superman cover with Batman on it. I don't know, probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, New 52, I have that one. It's
Yeah,
pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
I
right.
was gonna ask you, like, you did a Superman early in your career? You did a fill-in issue on Superman, and I
Yeah,
saw that, and I was like, okay, there's nothing Batman. Like, I literally looked through all your DC work. I was like, there's no Batman, and I was like, oh, there's one cover or
yeah. I
two
did one
covers.
cover, and he's in a couple panels in the Outsiders. I think he's in a couple panels in the Secret Origins of Nightwing, which is real early. Um, they actually asked me to do a Batman story recently, and I kind of said no.
Oh,
Oh, oh,
It's like, oh, sorry.
that
It's
would be
just
cool.
it's like,
Would they have
I
wanted
don't.
you to just write it, or would they want you to do the art,
No,
or
it
both?
was full on write and draw, and I had a weird story that I was thinking of, but I was like, I don't think I want to draw this story I came up with, and then I don't know, I just it's like I've got my own book, and I'd rather do my own book. So it's really what comes down to that is what do I want to do? How do I want to spend my day? It's like you got so many hours in the day. Do you want to be doing that? People do ask me to do other stuff, and there's times where I'm like, I don't know that character. I just don't have any affinity for him at all. So I'm gonna have to pass on that one just because I don't know what the hell I would
there
even
you
do
go.
with it.
I'm
Um,
sure it's more rewarding to work on your own stuff, but it's probably fun to play in somebody
yeah,
else's
I
sandbox from
mean,
time to time.
there's the Spider-Man noir thing was something that just kind of it hit me as this seems like it'd be kind of fun. So, especially when it's like, hey, you want to do a Spider-Man book where you've got a essentially blank slate and just do whatever the hell on it. It's like, all right. Uh, So that was kind of fun.
So, do you have anything else coming out? Like the we're coming up to the end of the show, so this is where I always let my guests promote the hell out of themselves. I mean, you don't really have to promote yourself. Everybody already
Yeah,
knows who you
I
are.
mean, I'm mostly just doing Savage Dragon, honestly. Um, and it's like I'm working on issue two, so it's story wise, it's all a lot of it's building to 300. So I kind of, all this other stuff is kind of a distraction from that, and I don't want to be one of those guys who's doing his creator own book and not doing his creator own book. So I mean, it's really like I want to get this particular story done and have this be this big thing, so that I can go on to the next chapter, because it's
So you
always
can start
because
301.
there's always the next thing that comes along. So it's not the book's not ending with 300. I'm gonna continue until everybody's good and sick of me. But but that's definitely like a big story that people have been looking forward to. It's like it's a big deal to get to 300. Not a lot of creators have managed that. So
No, it's a huge deal. It's so
That is
impressive.
humongous, man.
yeah, it's like
So
me and Dave Sim and a couple other guys.
yeah, and you're like the heavy lifting that you're doing, like it can't be undersold. I know this is asking you to pick your favorite kid, but do you have any Savage Dragon stories that stand out to you as some of your favorites? Is there a particular issue that you're like, oh man, everything worked here?
Um,
Like,
I don't know. I mean, I'm all over the place on that because there's just different uh, there'll be different challenges that I've set out for myself along the way where I had a story uh, got pretty far into the run. I don't remember the issue number off the top of my head. Blanking on that. But I started with a page that was a 20 panel grid. So there's
oh my,
20 panels. And then that's page one. Page two of those panels have merged. So now it's a 19 panel grid. And so, when that panel is a little bigger, you do something a little bigger in that panel as it merges. And then as the story progressed, I go from a 20 panel page to a single panel page over the course of 20 pages. And it's like I wanted the panels to merge in an interesting way. So it wasn't just let's just merge them across the top. And I wanted all the panels to be organized in such a way that you knew where to go. So I wanted there to be situations where there's weird L-shaped panels. I wanted them all to be squares or rectangles. And I wanted every time that it's a little bigger, I want to utilize that bigger space. Like it's bigger for a reason.
yeah, it's got to mean something.
This, a character is introduced here, or an event of some sort happens. So I think that's issue. I want to go 113,
Okay,
maybe. But that was an interesting issue to do as an experiment. Let's try this out and see how this works. I also did an issue where every panel takes place on a different day. So every panel is basically self-contained.
oh
Look
wow,
look at a certain day, right?
how long did that story take?
Page. It took a while. It took a while, but it's in just an interesting kind of way that you can still tell a story. But in this particular thing, it plays over, I don't know, 145 consecutive days or whatever it was. Um, so page one has a splash page and it's at a funeral. Page two Dad, you need to get out of bed kind of thing. And each subsequent panel could be like, one panel he's fighting a bad guy that's way out of his league. The next panel he's all bandaged up. The next panel he's yelling at his kids going, "Hey, I can pee again. Good job, Dad." You know, that's that sort of thing. Um, and it took a little while for the readers, I think, to understand what was going on. But once it had gotten going, it was like, oh, this is a really different way of telling a comic book story that I haven't seen before. Um, so that one
An
was,
interesting concept.
yeah, that one was
Really
issue
fun.
144, I think. Um, Also, because the book's set in real time, what ends up happening is I'll do one story that continues into another, or continues into another, and then I'll look up and go, "Hey, I'm 6 months behind where I need to be." So there will be occasional issues where I'm like, I need to make up time, and so that issue I was able to make up a bunch of time um, by just having one panel events going on.
That's
And
really cool.
another challenge on that was I wanted every panel to be a square, but I didn't want it just to be the monotonous 6 panel grid over and over again. So it was like, let me come up with a bunch of different ways so that I can get different size squares and compose this in an interesting way. And that was a challenge in and of as well to do that. I had an issue that there was a regular sized issue and a digest sized issue. And I set up all panels in such a way that those panels could be reconfigured and that every page can be turned into 2 pages.
Oh,
So it
nice.
was
That's
very, very modular. And then, okay, so we're moving this panel down, we're moving this one over and doing this. And
I love those digests when I was a kid, but yeah,
right.
they would have to
Yeah.
reconfigure
So it's
everything.
like, in terms of what the pages look like, all the panels are the same size in the regular comic version and in the digest version, but it's really different in terms of just storytelling wise how it plays out. So that was kind of fun. And there's a bunch of just different the challenges like that are ones that are a lot of fun, and it makes things more interesting for me. And those can kind of end up being, oh, these are my favorite issues just because they're so weird. Um, I like a more recent one, issue 252. I did like a Sunday Funnies issue. So page one was drawn in the style of Family Circus. Page two and three is like a Sunday strip of I don't remember which strip I did, but I did 10 different strips throughout it, and it'd be like this one's Dick Tracy and this one's Calvin and Hobbes and here's a Peanuts one, and I just told a semi-cohesive story, but each spread would be, this one's in the style of Tumbleweeds, and this one's in the style of Kathy, and here's Blondie, and suddenly all the characters look like they're from Doonesbury, and suddenly they all look like, and that one was pretty challenging as an artistic thing. Like, can I pull off all these different styles? Um, So that
That's
was
awesome.
that's kind of a fun one to do. Then there's an issue that's all double page spreads, all single panels, but they're all double page spreads, so your entire story is 10 panels long. Like, holy crap! Here's
There you
here's a
go. Like late stage Kirby, where you're just, I'm going to draw dinosaurs over 2 pages
yeah,
all the
but
time.
it's like again, it's got to be 10 panels that are worthy of being a double page spread. These 10 events would be double page spreads in another story, kind of thing. So everything's got to be a big thing, like, oh, he's fighting a bunch of lava lords, and there's a million demons down there, and it's like, anyway, that was a fun one.
Yeah, it does. It really does seem like you're like, man, all right, what do I want to draw today? What do I think's cool? Like,
Yeah.
you're not doing it for you do it for your fans, yes, but you're doing it for you too. And like you can like people can't see us, but I can see like you talking about that, like you're lighting up. You're like, man, I did it.
Well, it's totally fun to do. I mean, and a lot of the comics is just me. I'm still telling a story, and there still does end up being days when you're sitting there going, "Holy crap! I've got to draw something I don't want to draw." That you can't just do only the stuff you want to do, because there's a certain amount of it is I'm still trying to tell a story here.
Yeah, still
So,
trying to do a good job, but you
right.
make the rules, so you might as well make them fun when you can.
But it's like, God, I got to draw another funeral. My God, I've drawn 15 funerals over the course of this book. This is crazy, So that does come up where I kind of be like, all right, how do I do this? So that's a thing. But I'm for the most part just trying to tell some cool stories and create. I want to create. I want to, and in terms of my own book, I'm making up new bad guys for my own book all the damn time. You know, and that's part of why it's more accessible, I think, than a lot of other books. That if you're reading a book and it's a new villain as opposed to a villain who has this long history,
It's not as
you're not
convoluted.
sitting right. You're being introduced to something, and and that can be more vital. I don't know. I'm having fun with it.
As
Yeah,
long as you're having fun, man, we're all
yeah,
having fun.
yeah. That's the hope. That's the hope.
All right. Well, thank you guys, both of you, for being on the show. And I hope everybody listening really enjoyed it because I had a blast being here. I could tell Chad had a blast. I hope
Oh, I loved it, dude. Thank you
Did I
so
get
much for your time.
did I get to all your questions? I don't want to leave you hanging on anything. If there was something that you really were like, oh man, I
Oh
wanted to
man,
ask him.
we didn't talk enough about Nova. We didn't talk about cardiac, or
oh,
but that's
Cletus
okay.
Cassidy.
Yeah.
You created Cletus Cassidy.
I did. I did.
Yes. God, I forgot about that. I literally have the book right there.
Yeah. No, that's we gotta introduce these guys. Yeah, I didn't get to decide what is his name when he becomes a bad guy, because
Oh,
Carnage.
Carnage.
was gonna be called. I kept wanting to say Chaos because he originally was gonna be called Chaos, and then they were like, oh, somebody else had just introduced somebody named Chaos, so we can't use that. I was like, oh crap. Okay. Um, but yeah, so Carnage. Yeah, I didn't get to design Carnage, but I did get to design Cletus Cassidy. Um, but
Did you think Woody Harrelson looked good as him in the
he
movie?
was fine. He was fine.
I
I
loved it.
actually,
I thought it
yeah,
was funny.
that was pretty cool.
I was gonna say, and we live in this day and age now of all this, multimedia. When are we gonna get the Savage Dragon animated opus as
Uh,
opposed to the USA show? Are we gonna get another crack at that one?
I hope so. I would hope that would come around at some point. It's kind of complicated because Universal kind of has their hooks in it a little bit, which
Oh,
which makes my life a little difficult. I had somebody else who was interested in doing some animated stuff, but wanted to be able to also, just in case that was a hugely successful thing, that they wanted to be able to go, okay, well then, can we have it roll into doing a live action thing? Um, but Universal was like, they wanted to be able to keep their right of first refusal for the live action thing. And what ended up happening is the animation people, they needed that. They wanted that.
Uh,
We couldn't get it. So that ended up kind of tanking. I was like, oh, God damn it. How can we get this to happen? So we'll
Heck
see.
yeah.
I also, I mean, really, I want to make comics, and that stuff can absorb your entire life if you let it. And, I would rather make more comics than a movie or more cartoons, honestly.
That's I respect that. That's awesome. From a comic fan. I'm real bad at watching
Uh,
TV, but
I have
I love the
control on
comics.
this. The thing is, in when you're in animation, it's like there's a bunch of cooks and there's a bunch of people who are coming in doing different things with the art and doing different things with the writing. I can't do all of that. Whereas in the comics, I can be 100%. It's all me doing whatever the hell I want to.
or or you can collab with Don Simpson and have Savage Dragon on X.
that's, that's
Oh,
true too. That's true
Yeah.
too. Well,
that
or those can be a nightmare as well, though, because we tried that with Image United, and it just like, oh my god, what a night! When you
I,
had when you
This
have
was my first
fathers.
introduction to Savage Dragons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the X Force issue that you drew that never got to see the light of day, unfortunately. Like your cable was such a cool looking cable. Um,
Yeah. Well, it's my house burned down, and that story was in it. So, uh, uh, I started redrawing it, but Image Comics came into existence, and at a certain point, it didn't make any sense to continue with that when I needed to get issues of my own book out, and that was just an inventory job. So,
oh, I still wanted my Erik Larsen X Force issue though. Just
yeah,
that, like I said, your art has such a cool style, and
well,
that's
it
what
was interesting. Like I had inked a couple panels in X Force 2 and
I
or a couple pages in X Force 2 and
yeah with
pages in
Black
X Force
Tom and
3.
yeah.
Yeah. So a couple there, and then they used a drawing from my issue that they had that was done of there's like a cable shot of his face that they used in the letters page. And I'm sure people are going, where did this come from? And it was like, well, it's from this issue that never existed at this point.
Man, and that's another thing I wanted to ask because I was flipping through my Spidey omnibus today, and Venom. Not only did you make Venom so cool looking, like there were so many toys based off of your designs. Whether it was
Yeah,
the Aqua Venom or the Cyborg Spider Man has had all these toys since
I
then.
know. There's way more Cyber Spider-Man toys than there were Cyborg Spider-Man comics. Like he appeared in like part of a couple issues, and that was it.
But do you get jazzed about that kind of stuff when you see, oh,
I
they're doing
mean,
another Cyborg?
it's cool enough. I wish they'd send me some toys, but it's
Oh
cool
man,
enough. Yeah, they don't send me any of that stuff at all.
that's not
So
cool.
How do you not send the man that came up with the idea of the toy?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, occasionally they'll have a special thanks in one of them at the end of one of the movies, but that doesn't come with anything.
Oh,
Uh,
And that's why you guys had to come up with image stuff for the
yeah,
creators' rights so that you could
that's
get
kind of
those toys,
it.
darn it.
Which is what fine. It's like I knew that was the deal when I signed up for it, so I'm not sitting there going, damn them. It's fine. It's fine. I've got enough stuff in my life, enough toys on my shelf. I don't need to have every single one of them.
it'd still be cool though. Just saying. So
It is. It
you
is.
Still
It
be
don't
is
cool.
pretty
need
cool.
it,
It is
but
pretty cool. I don't need them, but if
but
you had them,
but again, thank you guys so much. Like this was really cool, and hopefully we'll have you again on here. Especially when you're at either really really close to 300 or at 300, you got to come back.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
All
because
right, guys.
that's such an awesome thing. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
all right,
thanks for
thank you guys.
having me, Ty. Thanks. I'm gonna.
As always, have a great day and peace out, Cub Scouts.
All right.
Thank you.